It's Bob.
Kate Moss flies EasyJet. When have you seen a celebrity in a situation where you didn't expect to see one? Ron's on the phone. Ron, you saw someone on a London to Brighton train.
A friend of mine said he'd heard a certain kind of laugh, and he said, I'm sure it's him, and we both went back and looked into the compartment, and there was Tommy Cooper on his way back to Brighton.
Just like that?
Just like that.
Bob FM. He's got to be like Britain's soul brother number one, hasn't he? Joe Cocker, as far as a singer goes. You know, America had James Brown, and we had Joe Cocker. Kind of sums up the difference there as well between the two cultures. James Brown had a hit with I Feel Good. Joe Cocker, feeling all right. My special guest this morning is Kate Moss. Kate is standing by in our Luton Airport studio. Kate, isn't EasyJet brilliant? Is this something I said? Talking about cases of mistaken identity this morning. This happened to me once on the radio. Many years ago, I was working in Birmingham at a radio station called BRMB, and we used to do this thing where I was on in the daytime. I was on from 9 till noon. And offices and workplaces used to fax in. That's how long ago it was. Yes, the old fax machine. People used to fax the radio station, and I used to draw one of the correct answers out, ring them back and say, hey, guess what? You've won some sandwiches and donuts and stuff from a baker's called Bragg's. And then I would go round in the afternoon and have basically a free lunch with whoever'd won. Trouble is, this day I called up and it was a case of mistaken identity. The lady on the other end of the phone thought I was somebody else.
Cable Cure Shop, good morning.
Hello, who's that?
This is Inesta at Cable Cure Shop.
Nice to talk to you. How's it going there?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Good. Do you know who this is?
Yeah.
Who?
It's, well, isn't that Mr. Walsh?
Yes, it is Mr. Walsh. Spotted in one. It's me, Mr. Walsh.
How are you?
Very good.
Good.
Hope you're looking as lovely as always.
Oh, thank you.
You know, last time I was in?
Yes?
You see, right down your top.
Did you?
Right down.
Ooh!
And my goodness, I could see Sleepy Hollow. Guess what?
What?
It's not Mr. Walsh.
Oh, isn't it?
It's Graham Mack from BRMB, and you're live on the radio, you old tart. You sent me a fax with the year of the top 10 at 10.
Did I?
Yes, you did, and I'm coming round later with lunch from Bragg's.
Oh!
More details emerging, though, about this Kate Moss.
Yes, the easy,
really.
Kate, what, Mossgate, EasyJet Gate?
I think Mossgate. Sounds
Mossgate,
much better.
Okay, yeah.
Now reports...
Departure Gate? British people have been arrested in Malaysia for causing an earthquake. Yeah, a senior minister there says that because they took their clothes off at the top of a mountain, they not only offended the mountain, but that caused an earthquake. I would like to prove them wrong, which could help their case and set them free. It's important work that we're doing this morning on Bob FM. So I would like to know your tale of public nudity, and did the nudity cause an earthquake? If we can prove that being naked in public does not cause earthquakes, we might be able to set them free. Jen, what's your story?
I had an Ann Summers party.
You had an Ann Summers party. This is where you were selling
I was hosting.
Yes.
I had some woman come round. I was hosting.
Yes.
And a few of my friends. 72 vodka shots later.
Yes.
And 3 of my friends ended up stripping around my street.
Around the street?
Yeah.
Outdoors?
Yeah.
Why?
I'd still to this day want to know. Because it's not me.
No, the night the Ann Summers party got out of hand.
Yes.
So
indeed.
these are all ladies, all stripped off, all running down your street?
Yep.
Now, did any of the other neighbours say anything or have anything to say about this?
I had one next door neighbour. who's a teacher, and she just laughed.
Okay, well, that's good news. Now,
So,
Jen, this is the important question. After this happened, was there an earthquake?
No.
So, you can prove conclusively that getting naked in public does not cause earthquakes.
No.
Okay, thank you very much, Jenny. Thank
Bye.
you. All right, cheers. Your tale of public nudity. What happened? Did it cause an earthquake? FM. Let's get the latest news now from Chris Hubbard.
A school trip has been criticised. This is a school in Yorkshire who are planning a £1,650 Barbados sports trip. This is what they're asking parents to pay for this trip.
It used to be like that at our school, because, our first school trip was to Chester Zoo. It was just a day out, and your parents had to pay, but not that much. It would just cover the cost of the coach, and I'm pretty sure the zoo let you in for nothing of its kids. And then the next year it was some stately home or something. And when I got to 11, it was a big deal. The school trip was to London.
Wow.
And there was an overnight stay.
I mean, that's pretty big. Pretty
big when you're 11. And, but I never went on any of the ones. When I got to high school, they organised some. Like, they organised one to France, because they were teaching us to speak French. It didn't take. And that one was very expensive. And there were other ones. There were skiing ones.
Well, yeah, my school did this. There was the fabled La Rochelle French trip.
Did you go on it?
I didn't go on this. My parents couldn't afford it.
My parents, I was the same. My parents went, no, Chester Zoo, yes, fine. And even the London one with the overnight stay, fine. But when it got to I never went. And in fact, there wasn't that many kids went. There were 400 kids in our year at school. And I'm thinking there was only 20 or so went on these trips, because it was the kids with rich parents.
That's very true. Actually, my school did do a Barbados cricket trip.
Did they?
Yeah, the cricket team and the teachers went over for a nice trip over there for, I think it was about a week or so.
Yeah.
Back then. And they all came back with very nice suntans and...
It's the ones you miss because you hear the tales. I know there was a story from there was a French trip that I never went on. And supposedly, and it was the female, there was a group of female PE teachers.
Yeah.
And they were running it. So maybe it had some kind of sport element to it. I don't know. The story I heard was they were on a beach, the kids and the female PE teachers, and one of the PE teachers, I forget her real name, we used to call her Ermintrude, but I forget her actual real name now. She was our form teacher too. Supposedly, the top of her bikini came off. And, she was...
With a group of small boys, I can imagine.
Well, it was probably more of a thrill for the other female PE teachers, if you know what I'm saying.
Bob's Breakfast with mytoolshed.co.uk.
When you were pregnant, what was your craving? And Helen, this wasn't you, this was your friend. What was it?
She ate paper. Couldn't eat food, ate paper. She ate 5,000 business cards that her husband had delivered. And he said to her, where are my business cards? And she couldn't bring herself for 2 weeks to tell him they had been delivered and she'd eaten them.
Goodness me.
Bob's Breakfast.
So, Chris, she's going to be in court today.
That's right, yeah. Eleanor Hawkins, 23-year-old, who was charged with indecent behaviour for posing naked on this sacred mountain over in Malaysia.
So they took their clothes off in the middle of nowhere,
That's
not
right.
in a built-up area, and they're saying she offended the mountain.
That's right. Yep.
Now, she offended the mountain so much she caused an earthquake. That's the prosecution's case here.
That is the case.
Is the mountain going to testify? I mean, because without that, how do you know whether because the mountain might have gone, you know what, she didn't look too bad. Before we get into the news, Chris, thanks for the favourite but not the retweet.
Oh, yes.
Which I thought
you got
was...
the joke.
Yeah.
No, it was a good tweet this morning from you.
About the favourite and the retweet?
Yeah.
Well, what happened was I do a blog, which is Graham Mack WordPress. If you put Graham Mack blog or go through Mac Me, you'll find it. Anyway. And occasionally I try to bait the radio industry.
Occasionally?
all right, regularly, I write stuff just to bait the radio industry, just to stir things up a bit. I pull out a pin and throw in a hand grenade. And my blog I wrote yesterday was one of those blogs. And there were, I think, 3 radio kind of commentators. There are people in this country who they're very well respected. Radio commentators, I think you'd call them. They talk about the state of commercial radio in Britain and what's happening with innovation and threats from, music streaming services and just, kind of what's going on. They get a lot of coverage, a lot of traction. And I think there were 3 of them yesterday. I tweeted a link to the blog.
Yes.
They favorited the tweet, but didn't retweet.
Did they not?
Now, of course, my goal is to stir things up.
Yes.
And if they'd have retweeted, then a lot more people would have reached a lot more people, because these people are very well respected radio people who talk about and write about radio in the UK. And so I was so frustrated this morning.
I thought you must have been about something.
Yes. I tweeted, a favourite without a retweet is basically saying, I like what you said, wish I'd said it, so I'm not going to let on that you said it. And then tagged it with, so English. Just to stir them up a bit more. So, of course, you favorited without retweeting.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, it was a good tweet,
yes.
but I didn't want other people to know about it because I would have quite liked to have said it in the first place.
So English.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, let's get on with the news then.
Children need to be tested for fitness as well as maths and English to reduce inactivity, say health campaigners. More needs to be done in the classroom to get kids active. I don't know.
I think the schools may be responsible because from my personal experience, pre-school, I was praised as a baby and a toddler for 2 main aspects in my life. The ability to walk and the ability to talk. Then once I kind of got the hang of it, they sent me to school where they told me to sit down and shut up. I feel good. So she's in court as we speak in Malaysia.
Yes, in court right now.
Charged with offending a mountain.
Yep, allegations of indecent behaviour on a mountaintop.
Yes, but but they said the mountain was so offended she caused an earthquake. Well, they're going to have to, if you're the prosecution, that you've got to prove that the mountain was offended. So they need to have the mountain testify, as far as I can see. And I don't have a legal mind.
A grief-stricken mountain in court.
That's right. And then the mountain can sue for compensation and, all the rest of it, because it's a mystical mountain.
It is.
And she may be fined 10 buffalo heads. That could be part of the problem.
One of the local community leaders says one way of appeasing the mountain was by handing over 10 buffalo heads or 10 buffalo.
Yes.
The choice is yours.
Okay, so a live buffalo would do.
Yeah,
okay,
that's always a good option.
All right, and then the spirits will be happy then, and
that's the gist of it.
I think the best penalty would be if she got deported. Surely that would work for everyone, wouldn't it?
What, she gets sent back home?
She gets sent back home, probably knowing them on a mumbo-jumbo. Jess Gayford eats soap. She gets through 2 bottles of hand wash a week. She's 8 months pregnant. It's a craving. We're talking about cravings this morning during pregnancy. Julia.
A friend of mine and myself used to go shopping when we were both pregnant.
Yeah.
I would head to the iced lollies bit because I had a real craving for iced lollies.
Yeah.
She would go to the fresh vegetable bit because she had an absolute craving for mud on the potatoes.
Not the potatoes, the dirt on the potatoes.
The dirt on the potatoes. She would actually be salivating as we walked past.
She was a dirt eater. Oh dear. No, it's weird, isn't it? Yours I get. Ice lollies, fine. Dirt, no.
No, not right.
Not right. And did you ever discuss it with her and say, what gives here?
She just couldn't help herself. I mean, she did have 8 children, bless her, so I suppose one weird one out of having 8 children was not too bad.
And the children are all normal? They were not dirt-eating children?
No, they're fine. They're lovely.
Julia, thank you so much. All right.
No problem at all.
When have your parents embarrassed you the most? Duncan.
Christmas shopping with my mum and my dad.
Yeah.
I was in my early 20s. We just said we'd go out for a day, go shopping. We were in Watford.
Yeah.
Mum has this habit of putting on her posh voice, and she does it at the most embarrassing times.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're walking around the clothing section in M&S.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, she starts calling me Cuthbert at the top of her voice, and she's going, "Come and have a look at this. This will really suit you." Anyway, she keeps going, "Cuthbert, Cuthbert," as I'm going around the shop. I'm just trying to get away from her this time, and then I get lost. It's huge. That Marks and Spencer's in a Harlequin. It's just huge. So what happened was, I'm walking away from her, getting quicker and quicker, and I just happened to stumble across the women's lingerie section. So now she's going, "Cuthbert, Cuthbert." She's going, "Stop looking at those ladies' underwear.
No!
Come back to mummy."
No!
Oh, my day. Yeah.
Oh, Duncan.
Shocking.
I feel your pain. And it sounds like you're still not over it.
Clearly not. No, I still can't go shopping with her even now.
Companies could be breaking the law by producing fake online reviews. So the Competition and Markets Authority started investigating on this after finding that some firms have been posting false reviews for products, stopping negative comments.
Really? Who'd have thought?
And paying for endorsements
Are
as
you
well.
telling me all that stuff on TripAdvisor isn't genuine?
More than
Of course it's not.
Loads of people use these online reviews, though, don't they? And they take them at face value a lot of the time.
And their rivals go on there and diss them.
Yeah.
That happens. And they write reviews of their own, they write glowing reviews of their own company and diss their rivals on their sites.
Absolutely. Well, customers are using the threat of online criticism, they say, as well, to win discounts. That's been talked about before in the past.
That's just sneaky. That's just sneaky. Yeah, sneaky. Yeah. People complain to get a discount. How low would you have to be that you want to save money by whining like that? You just, if something wasn't, just don't go back. Just don't give them your business again. And tell your friends you had a bad time there. Don't go whining to them to get a discount. You might want to say to them, "Look, I know you mightn't realise this, but this happened. Here's how you could improve." You might want to help them. But when your motive is to just get a discount, well, then you're just low. I don't know what's the mentality there. I don't get that.
There was, amongst some of the other misleading cases as well, review sites cherry-picking positive reviews as well. So, if you see a good review on a website, it might be the case that the people behind it have said, "Oh, yeah, you know what, that's good. We'll use that one." But it kind of makes business sense.
That's the way of the world, isn't it? Like, you're going to put bad reviews on there. Do people think that's what you're supposed to do? It's about the whole idea of advertising is to accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative. That's what you do. You don't put your negative. You're not going to please everybody, so you don't put people on there. There are some people who, it's like, for instance, radio. There are some people that this radio station isn't for. For instance, if you're a classical music fan, this is not a great radio station for you.
No, it's not ideal.
But you're not going to change anything by complaining to us. You know what I mean? We're not going to change. But sometimes people do that. Sometimes businesses pander to the people who are not their customers. My first ever radio job, 2PK Parks, the outback of Western New South Wales, Australia. One of the things I had to do on the breakfast show, and I hated it, were the funeral announcements.
Funeral announcements?
Yeah. You played this like Mantovani music, followed by the relatives and friends of the late, and then you'd name the person, are respectfully requested to a requiem mass taking place at Condobolin Cemetery, and then interment and it was the details of the funeral that day or in a couple of days' time.
And this was on a breakfast show?
This was on and then you played the Mantovani. So imagine me, right? So I'm doing my thing, then I play the Mantovani music, then I read the funeral announcements, then I play more Mantovani music, and it's back to the fart jokes. I mean,
I would love to hear a clip of that.
As you can imagine, actually, I don't have a tape. I messed one up on my first day. I messed one up so badly, and I felt so bad because I thought, these people are going through this, and I've just messed it. I couldn't pronounce the guy had like a Greek name or something. I couldn't pronounce it, and I had about 4 goes at it. And the Mantovani music just kept coming on, and I thought, just kept pushing the buttons to go. It was horrible. It was the first job in radio, and I thought I was going to get fired. And anyway, so. These funeral announcements, okay, I hated them, and they were on at like 8:10 in the morning. So I said to the boss, Kenny Birch, the general manager, I said, "Kenny, I know we have to do them because the funeral directors are paying for them. There were two reasons why we had to do them. First was the funeral directors were paying. They were a paid advertisement for the funeral directors. And secondly, it was in the licensing laws of Australia, if your market doesn't have a daily paper, you must run funeral announcements on the air.
Wow.
Because this was Parkes, and there was another town called Forbes, and Parkes had a paper, the Champion Post, on one day, and then the alternative day, Forbes had a paper. So then ended up a newspaper every other day. So anyway, I said, Kenny, I know we have to do it, but do we have to do it at 8:10? That's kind of peak listening. Can't we, do it at, 6:05? Then we've done it, and, there's no, whatever. And he said, well, we did move it once. We moved it to just after 7:00. And I said, oh, right, how'd that work out? Oh, it didn't go well at all. You see, there are people who listen to the ABC. The ABC's like the BBC. Because the people who listen to the local ABC station, there's something on then at 7:10 that they really like to listen to, and they didn't want to miss it. But when we have it at 8:10, they can flick over to us, hear the funeral announcements, and then flick back to the ABC, because whatever they do at 8:10 isn't that interesting. I'm like, Kenny, first of all, we're programming our radio station for people who listen to a different radio station. Is that what we're doing? And that literally was what we're doing. And then secondly, I said, Kenny, the only people who wake up in the morning, turn on the radio to hear funeral announcements, are people turning it on to see if they're in them.
Bob's Breakfast with My Toolshed.
Rachel.
It was actually my mum, believe it or not. We were out shopping, and we always have a laugh and a joke together.
Yeah.
And we were walking around Wilkinson's, and she picked up a pack of condoms, and she shouted at me across the shop. I was heavily pregnant with my daughter at the time, and she said, don't you think you should try using these next time?
Oh,
yeah.
No!
Yeah, and everybody in the shop turned around, and I was just like, oh my God.
Skinny jeans. There's a health warning about them this morning. They can seriously damage muscles and nerves, is the warning from doctors today. A 35-year-old woman had to be cut out of a pair after her calves ballooned in size.
The fire brigade and the jaws of life cut her free.
She spent hours squatting to empty cupboards for a house move in Australia. But by evening, because of these tight trousers, her feet were numb and she'd found it hard to walk as well.
Now, some people can wear tight trousers, some can't. Now, I have not seen the photos of this lady. Have you seen?
I've not seen the photos, no.
But obviously, maybe it's stereotyping, but I'm guessing this lady is, shall we say, jolly. She has a great personality. Would that be fair to say?
Well, there's a fair few people who squeeze into these sorts of trousers who maybe shouldn't be squeezing into them.
Yes, oh yes. We had a radio station I worked at. One of the sales ladies used to come in wearing some very tight leather trousers, but she was not. They didn't. When she sat down, she looked like a couch. When have you been embarrassed by your parents? Sharon.
I was about 18.
Yeah.
And my whole life is actually an embarrassment with my father.
Right.
I was sitting outside with my boyfriend in the car, just chatting outside our house.
Yeah.
And a few friends in the car as well.
Yeah.
And my dad comes out in his dressing gown and knocks on the window and goes, "What are you guys doing? Stop messing around. Just come." And that was embarrassing enough. And I said, "Dad, I'm coming in a minute. I'm just finishing off a conversation." And as he walked away in the headlights, he lifted up his dressing gown to reveal his bare bottom.
No!
Backside.
No! It looks like the bloke who wrote the music to Titanic has been killed in a plane crash.
Yeah, in a small plane crash. It was James Horner. Wrote, absolutely fantastic score for this.
Well, it turns out he might not have been right when he said, "My heart will go on." Too soon?
Bob's Breakfast with mytoolshed.co.uk.
We're talking about when parents embarrass kids this morning. Caroline.
My son says that I embarrass him all the time.
By doing what?
Because I like to get up and party and dance, and he's like, oh, Mum, you're so embarrassing.
How old is he?
Joshua's 13 now.
Oh, dear, yeah, he's right in the zone there. There's hardly anything you can do that won't embarrass him.
Everything I do embarrasses him. I'm always embarrassing him. I get up and sing if we're at karaoke, and I can't. I know I can't sing.
And what would be your song of choice?
I Will Survive.
Right. Give us a few bars of I Will Survive. No, I want to know if he's right to be embarrassed. Just a few bars.
I can't
No,
do
come
that.
on, then. Come on, Caroline. You've said it now. We've got to hear it. We've got to decide for ourselves.
I'm trying to think. How does it go? At first I was afraid. I was petrified. Kept thinking I could never live without you by my side. And then I felt so many nights. Right, he's back at the door. I'm going to have to go for him.
Well, yeah, well, I'm with him, actually. He's probably coming back in and saying, Mother, you're doing it again, only this time on the radio!
Hey!
106 Bob FM.
A bus driver has called the police on a passenger who tried to pay with pennies on her journey. This is a woman called Laura Pulley. She says she was left surprised when her driver wouldn't accept 60p fare because 25p of it was made up in 1 and 2 pence coins.
Only
now,
25p of it was
only
made up in coins?
25p of it. This is what she's saying. Then, when she refused to leave the bus, because she said, look, I'm paying my way on this.
This is legal tender. That's the phrase you use in those situations, usually.
The police were then called to try and defuse the situation. She said, it was the most surreal experience of my life. I can't believe it happened. He watched me count the exact money out. Then he expected me and my daughter to get off the bus because he didn't want the money. When the police arrived, one officer actually gave Laura enough fare to cover her journey. Obviously not in pennies, but she says she's complained to the bus company, and the bus company is now investigating this. It says it is not First Essex policy to refuse customers who pay in change. But strangely, by law, the driver was completely within his rights. To
Really?
Yeah.
What does the law say about this?
This is the Coinage Act.
The Coinage Act?
The Coinage Act of 1971.
Right.
It rules that people can refuse any payment above 20p paid in bronze coins.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. This is the Coinage Act dating back to 1971. Apparently because it doesn't strictly qualify as legal tender.
Doesn't it?
No.
It's money with the Queen's head on it.
Well, this is what I thought.
Has anyone told the Queen?
I think she'd be greatly offended, wouldn't
see,
she?
this is what has happened to this country. We are now so obsessed with rules and regulations.
Mm-hmm.
What has happened to bus drivers? Bus driver calling the police? You know, maybe call me old-fashioned, but I kind of miss the old days when I would get the last bus home after going out for a night drinking, and I would get the last bus home, which was a Crosville bus, a green bus from Warrington bus station. And you get on that bus, and I think the fare was something like 45p, and the driver would say, 20, sit down, and wouldn't give you a ticket. I kind of miss those days of your good old-fashioned bus driver. Now look what's happened.
Bob's Breakfast with My Tool Shed. For the latest DeWalt cordless.
When your parents have embarrassed you. Karen?
Well, I'm actually the parent who did the embarrassing. Does that count?
That counts. Oh, yeah, we take those too.
About 2.5 years ago, I got engaged. So at my engagement party, there was a little bit of drinks going on. Came home, I went to bed, and my daughter went in her bedroom, and there were some friends downstairs. I'd got undressed for bed. I could hear one of the friends calling my daughter, assuming he was down the bottom of the stairs. I've opened my bedroom door to go to the bathroom, and he stood on the landing.
And what are you wearing?
Not a lot.
Specifically?
Just a pair of knickers.
Oh, no! No! Oh, dear. Karen.
I ran in the bedroom.
Yeah.
He ran downstairs, and all I could hear was, oh, my God, they're massive.
I'm Graham Mack, international celebrity. I'll tell you how this happened. A while ago, I went to a radio convention in America. And bizarrely, I was the only British radio presenter there out of about 600 radio presenters from all over America. So they thought that I must be the main broadcaster in Britain. They thought because I'm the only one that's there, so I must be representing the entire nation, which was an awesome responsibility. Anyway, what happens now is, if anything happens with the Royals, which the Yanks seem to be obsessed with, they call me, and I go on the radio there. Now, yesterday, I think I was on about 27 different radio stations in 50 states. Now, some of them are networked, and so they're on in different, it's just like millions of people were listening. My favorite was Gene and Julie on Mix 101.6. I actually quite liked their show because each station I went on, I listened to a little bit of their station on the internet before I went on. And Gene and Julie were talking about, it was not a bad phone topic actually. It was, what have you learned from watching YouTube? And they had a caller on. It was a lady who'd made a cardboard moose head. Hey, it's America, what can I say? And then their news guy, who's a lot like Chris, but not quite as good, Patrick McMahon, he said he went on YouTube to learn how to boil an egg. Cause he didn't know how to do it. Anyway, so then they called me up and I went live.
Mix 101.5, where Gene and Julie were getting words that there's trouble for the Queen of England. To give us an update is Graham Mack. He's a radio presenter and programmer from the UK.
Now, Graham, we have a question.
Okay.
I understand the Queen is getting evicted from Buckingham Palace. Is she missing too many of her rent payments?
Well, it's an old place, it was built in 1703. The place has fallen to bits.
Wow.
And so some of the masonry, the plumbing, the wiring, not looking too good. The Queen doesn't want to fix it herself, even though I'm sure she's got YouTube. She could go on. I mean, if people can work out how to make a cardboard moose head, then I'm sure the Queen, in fact, the Queen would have a lot in common with Patrick McMahon, because I don't reckon she'd know how to boil an egg either. Anyway, she doesn't want to go on YouTube and work out how to do all this work. They reckon it's £150 million worth of work, which I think is about 200 million of that funny money you use.
Whoa.
So they're talking about now she's going to have to move out while the work is done.
Well, have they been maintaining Buckingham Palace over the years, or have they just kind of let it fall apart?
Well, this is what I want to know. She has 423 staff. What are they doing?
Wow.
Well, I know what 422 of them are doing. Nothing.
Exactly.
How does the public feel about? I assume the public pays for these repairs.
That's right, and this is a little bit of an issue at the moment because it comes out of our taxation. Although it's not a coincidence, the same day that they announced she might have to move out for this expensive maintenance work, they also mentioned that she only costs us 59 pence a year. It costs us to have a royal family.
It's about $1 a person a year. That's not bad.
But these figures, they don't include the security and the soldiers. I mean, she has, and I'm not joking, a household cavalry. That's when you know you've got a big house, when it has its own cavalry.
That is insane. So what do you do with a homeless queen? Where does she go?
But she's got other houses she can go to. She's got Windsor Castle, which is just down the road, the other side of Heathrow Airport. Then there's Sandringham. And then up in Scotland, she's got another castle called Balmoral. So it's not like they're throwing her out onto the street. You see, she has a flag on top of the palace, at Buckingham Palace. There is a flag called the Royal Standard. If that flag is flying, she's home. If it's not, she's in one of the other places, which is a bit of a dead giveaway to burglars.
When will we know more about this story, Graham?
I think by the end of this week, a decision will be made on who's paying, because some people are saying, with all the gold and the priceless artwork and that, surely she could just sell a couple of paintings and a chandelier or something and pay for it. But why do we have to pay?
That's a good question. That is so much money. It's unbelievable. All right, where can our listeners find out more about Graham Mack and your great radio show in the UK?
I'm Mack Media, M-A-C-K Media, mackmedia.co.uk.
Bob's Breakfast.
David Cameron looking very pleased with himself this morning. Pictures of him during the early hours walking out of a meeting with EU leaders, saying he's delighted the process of reform and renegotiation of the UK's membership of the EU is properly underway now. So he was speaking in the early hours, formally setting out his aims to some of the EU counterparts over in Brussels. He's saying, people always say to me, these things aren't possible. Once again, we've proved we will get them done.
But they're only talking. There's no results.
This is the thing. There's nothing yet. From my understanding, they were having a meal last night.
Yeah.
And they talked about it.
Yeah, I think that politicians are the worst example of this misconception. There are so many people who have jobs who think their job is meetings. They think that's the job.
Absolutely. And if you've got a meeting, you must be doing something important.
Yes, but nothing's getting done. I've worked at radio stations where one radio station, I think I used to have like a minimum of 4 meetings a day. This was in addition to going on the radio. This was...
How did you have time?
I didn't, and I used to complain about it all the time. And what I ended up doing in one of them, because I was on the air, and then I came off the air, and straight away I had a half-hour debrief meeting about the show I'd just done.
Right.
And how you really want to do that when you at 9 o'clock. Then I had another half an hour meeting, which was a news meeting. Then another meeting, which was a planning meeting. Now, that's actually a meeting about meetings. Because the planning meeting, what are we going to do? Well, okay, we'll set up, you two, are you going to meet? And then that's all that is. And then by about, what I did, I set an alarm on my phone, which sounded like my phone ringing, that went off at 12:30 in the afternoon. And because these meetings, they had no, end time. Mm. They just went until everyone was talked out, and then they went to the next one. They had a start time for the next meeting, but there was this one that started, I think, at 11:30, and it didn't have an end time.
Oh, that's bad, because when you've been up since early, all you want to do is go home.
That's all you want to do. From 9 o'clock, all you want to do is go home, especially on a Friday. All you want to do is go home. So I set an alarm on my phone that sounded like my phone ringing. It went off at 12:30. So if the meeting went to 12:30... this thing would, and I'd go, excuse me, and I'd run down the corridor with the phone to my ear and not come back.
Bob's Breakfast.
This is a great story. Free to any willing home. It's an advert on Craigslist, which is the American version of Gumtree, I suppose. It says, my girlfriend does not like my beagle Molly, so I have to rehome her. She's purebred from a wealthy area. I've had her for 4 years. She likes to play games. Not totally trained, has long hair, so she's a little high maintenance, especially the nails. But she loves having them done. Stays up all night yapping, but sleeps while I'm at work. Only eats the best, most expensive food. Will never greet you at the door after a long day or give you unconditional love when you're down. Does not bite, but she can be mean as hell. So, anyone interested in my 30-year-old, selfish, wicked, gold-digging girlfriend, come and get her. Me and my dog want her rehomed as soon as possible. So, ending a relationship, always tricky. How have you done it? Kathy?
I did catch my ex-boyfriend once. He told me that he was going to Watford. We live in St Albans, but we didn't live together. He was with his parents. But he said every Thursday night was his night out with his friends.
Right.
So anyway, I said to one of his friends, "Did you have a good night out last night?" This is months and months later, and he went, and he looked at me blankly.
Yeah.
And I went, "Weren't you out with him last night?" And he went, "No." He goes out with you every Thursday. So anyway, the next Thursday I followed him. And he was meeting his ex-girlfriend, and they were sitting in a bloody pub in Watford. I was not happy. So anyway, I went up to the bar.
Yeah.
And I ordered 2 pints of Guinness.
Yeah.
And I asked him to put loads of blackcurrant in it as well.
Yeah.
So, and I just walked up to him and I threw a pint over him and then a pint over her. And I just said to him, "You are redundant." And I just walked out and never saw him again.
And that was the end of it?
That was the end of it, yeah.
Kathy?
He followed me around for a whole year afterwards, and eventually I had to get the police to tell him to leave me alone.
How does he not get the message when you chuck a pint of beer over him?
I know, what is wrong with that? But there you go, that's what happened.
When you've been embarrassed by your parents this morning. Wrap this up for us, Cassie.
My brother rang you, Duncan.
Yes.
To talk about our mum.
Yes.
Yeah, so I thought of a story to tell you.
Oh, she's embarrassed you as well?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, she does it all the time.
What's she done?
I'm Gertrude when we're out, by the way.
Oh, because she shouts him Cuthbert.
Yeah, Cuthbert, and I'm Gertrude.
Okay.
When we're out.
And she puts on a fake posh accent as well, yeah.
Yeah, she does, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what she would do to me is we would be in Marks Hughes or BHS or wherever, shopping, and she'll walk away. And I'll think, oh, that's a bit rude. And I'll realise, because she's trumped, walked away, and it left me with the smell hanging, and then people would stare at me as if I'd done it.
Oh, Cassie, thank you so much. Oh.
Bob's Breakfast with My Tool Shed. New trader? Pop in for a coffee and a chat at My Tool Shed, Welham Green.
Martin.
I've been dumped over the phone by my ex-fiancée.
Wow, you were engaged and she rang you up and said it's off.
Yes. That's not the worst part of it. At the time, I was a bus driver in the Essex countryside. And she managed to cost, I think, about 4 villages their bus service for the rest of the evening, because my inspector told me I was in no fit state to drive.
Oh, it really affected you?
It really affected me to the point where I was an absolute wreck.
Yeah.
And I'll take your bus out of service, bring it back to the depot, and
so you were at work at the time?
Yeah, I was on a short 15-minute break.
Yeah.
And so I phoned her up and she ended it over the phone.
Oh, jeez, mate. And have you bounced back?
Absolutely. I've since had a few relationships and now I'm happily married.
Look at that.
Absolutely beautiful girl.
Look at that.
With 2 wonderful kids.
Well, there you go. So anyone listening who's going through it, you just got to, when you're going through hell, keep going.
Amen to that.
Thank you, Martin. Drama on a Ryanair flight yesterday. Bomb scare in Poland. Part of the airport had to be closed and evacuated. Bomb squad, fire engine surrounded the plane. Jeez, imagine being on that plane. Talk about a drama. I'd like to know this morning your flight drama story. Ever been involved in any kind of... sometimes just rough turbulence can frighten the life out of you, but then again, so can a crazy person on board the plane, or a baby that won't stop crying, or a kid that won't stop kicking your seat. I can remember actually a kid running up and down the aisle on a night flight I was trying to sleep on, and I was on an aisle seat, and my leg did actually tend to move into the aisle, and the tubby kid went flat on his face. He stopped running up and down the aisle, though. It's funny how accidents like that can have a good result.
A story we broke at 8 o'clock this morning, actually. 3 suspected illegal migrants allegedly been found stowed away on a school coach in Hertfordshire. The men were reportedly discovered in the grounds of what parents have named Presdale School in Ware after pupils returned from a school trip to northern France. These men were held by police and carted off to the local police station.
You'd have to be pretty desperate to get on a school bus.
You would. I can imagine their surprise when they came out from under the bus and...
Oh, they were under the bus?
As far as we know.
Oh, well, that's one thing. Because if they were on the bus, all the blinking singing... You don't get more desperate than that, escaping on a school bus.
Bob's Breakfast with My Tool Shed. For the latest DeWalt cordless.
So, illegal migrants found hiding on a school bus on a trip on the way back from France. In what must have been one of the most interesting games of I Spy ever played.
106 Bob FM.
Andy Murray in action at Wimbledon today. Andy Murray saying that he's got the services of a sports psychologist to help him play better tennis.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He says it's about understanding himself better, and the better you understand yourself, it does help before some of the big matches as well.
Well, he is pretty difficult to understand, what with him mumbling so much. What you do when you run out of money, because this is what's happening in Greece. The banks are closed for a week. The ATMs, they're only going to give you 60 euros a day. If you run out of money, you don't know what, you have to borrow from friends, or I was on holiday once and ran out of money with a mate of mine. We ended up busking. Was the only way we could find any money. So what do you do when the money runs out? Badger's back on the phone.
I was at a Christmas do in a hotel, and none of us wanted to pay because it was really expensive. And someone come up to me and said, "Don't pay for your drinks. We're signing them to room 73.
Right.
Putting any name down." Yeah?
You just made up a room number?
They just said, room 73. You just signed any name.
Yeah.
So I did it, and it worked.
Right.
So we were having a fantastic time, drinking champagne and that, and doing the great. So I went up to this woman I knew from work, and I said to her, "Look, don't pay for any drinks here." I said, "We're signing them to room 73. She said, "I'm in room 73. All right.
I'm Graham Mack, and I hope you're enjoying the podcast. If you are, make sure you share it on Facebook and Twitter, and you can subscribe at iTunes. What do you do when the money runs out? If you've ever been on holiday and you've run out of cash, or you've just got into that situation where there's too much month left at the end of the money, what have you done to survive? What do you do when the money runs out? Nancy?
Actually, I did the lottery, and I won about 1,500 quid, which was enough just to pay the mortgage and get us through.
You are joking.
No, honestly, it's my last pound.
You put your last pound on the lottery, and you won 1,500 quid, and it saw you through.
It did. It paid the mortgage for 3 months, in which time my husband then got another job.
Great story. Great. Thank you very much, Nancy.
Okay, bye.
Cheers.
Bob's Breakfast.